With question 49 of Prima Secunda of the Summa Theologia, we begin a new treatise, and this is the treatise on habits. It's only 6 questions in this short treatise, but the interesting thing about this treatise is that it is right between the treatise on the passions, which we just finished, and then we eventually are going to get into the treatises on the virtues, the theological virtues and the cardinal virtues. And so right in between is the treatise on habits. And I think that makes a lot of sense because the virtues are habits that make us good. That's pretty much the definition of a virtue. So before he goes straight into explaining what the virtues are, he's going to talk about habits because the virtues are habitual, meaning that it's something we do with ease, and either because we have acquired the virtue or because it has been infused by God, and that's going to be the distinction between the different kinds of virtues. Now, this one says of habits in general as to their substance. And so as soon as you see that word substance, if you have some philosophical training, you'll know that substance is a word that's often associated with Aristotle. He came up with substance meaning a particular thing, and with composite things it means matter and form together, and a substance will be the subject of the 4 causes, for example, the efficient cause and the formal and the final and the material cause. All right, so and substance is a very important word in philosophy because somebody like Baruch Spinoza said the whole world is one substance, which is God, as he's a pantheist, and Descartes was the one that split the person up into 2 substances of mind and body, whereas with us, and Thomas Aquinas would follow Aristotle, saying that we are one substance, okay, mind and body. And so now we aren't talking so much about the human person as a substance, but the habits and what the substance of habits are, which is kind of interesting. And I will tell you that this is one of the more complicated questions that I have read in the Summa. In fact, it's taken me a while to do this video because I've read through it a number of times and it's very dense. And I'm just going to give you kind of a overview of these articles because I think if I read them in their entirety, I don't think anybody would would last and watch this entire video because it does get pretty dense. The first one says, is habit a quality? Okay, is it a quality? And he says the word habitus, which is the Latin for habit, is derived from habere, to have. Now, habit is taken from this word in 2 ways. In one way, inasmuch as man or any other thing is said to have something. Okay, that's where we get the word habit, is to have something. In another way, inasmuch as a particular thing has a relation either to itself or in regard to something else. Now, in the next paragraph, he goes into Aristotle's predicaments and post-predicaments and, things that we have. And, and I'm not going to get into that too much. But in the next paragraph, he says, if to have be taken according to a thing as it has a relation in regard to itself, or to something else, in that case, habit is a quality. Okay, it's a quality that we have. It's something that is in relation to something else. The philosopher says that habit is a disposition whereby that which is disposed well or ill, and this either in regard to itself or in regard to another. All right, so that's basically a definition. He's going to get into a little bit more about the definition of habits, but again, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty because that one is pretty dense. Article 2, whether habit is a distinct species of quality. Okay, even the question itself is pretty dense, and he goes into talking about Aristotle again and the predicaments from Aristotle's book, The Categories. And he refers to another thinker named Simplicius, who in his commentary on the predicaments of Aristotle explains the difference of these species as follows. He says that some qualities are natural and are in their subject in virtue of its nature and are always there, but some are adventitious, being caused from without and can be lost. So he's making a distinction here that a habit can be gained or lost. It's not something that is part of us, because if it's part of us, it wouldn't really qualify as being a habit. And then he says the philosopher in Metaphysics, another one of Aristotle's books, defines habit as a disposition whereby someone is disposed well or ill. And he says that by habits we are directed well or ill in reference to the passions. For when the mode is suitable to the thing's nature, it has the aspect of good, and when it is unsuitable, it has the aspect of evil. And since nature is the first object of consideration in anything, for this reason, habit is reckoned as the first species of quality. All right. Article 3, whether habit implies order to an act. And in regard to the nature of habit, it belongs to every habit to have relation to an act. For it is essential to habit to imply some relation to a thing's nature, insofar as it is suitable or unsuitable thereto. So every habit is going to have some kind of action in one regard or another. Habit implies a relation not only to the very nature of a thing, but also consequently to operation. It is clear that the nature and the notion of power is that it should be a principle of act, wherefore every habit is subjected to a power, implies principally relation to an act. Okay, so there you go. And finally, are habits necessary? And he goes on to say, the philosopher says that habit is a disposition, and disposition is the order of that which has parts, either as to place, or as to potentiality, or as to species, as we have said above. Wherefore, since there are many things for whose natures and operations several things must concur, which may vary in their relative adjustability, it follows that habit is necessary. So I think the only thing you need to really take out of that is that habits are necessary. Because you imagine if you didn't have any habits, there was nothing habitual about your actions, I can't imagine how you would function. So anyways, not the easiest of questions there in the Summa, but congratulations for getting through it, and thanks for joining me as we journey through the Summa one question at a time. God bless you.